Here we're going to tie a Batwing Emerger. First thing to do is start your thread. Next thing is we want this bead to be just slightly in front of the eye. So I hopscotch my thread in front of it there. See how I pulled it back just a hair away from the eye of the hook. The next thing to do is to tie in the tail. For this fly, we're going to be tying a PMD color. So I'm going to use Woodduck for our tail. We want it to be about the length of the straight portion of the shank of the hook. Not too long. About there's good. Next thing we're going to tie in is our body material, which is just a brown Biot. Take our thread back towards the tail, tie this brown Biot in, take our thread forward towards the bead. I like to use some hackle pliers to aid me in wrapping this Biot. So it can be a little tricky to deal with. Now with each wrap with this Biot, ideally I want to cover up the ridge to get a smooth body. So I try to do this carefully and slowly. With each wrap I just cover that up. That way it lays down smooth. Now once I get towards the bead, I'm going to capture the Biot. And I can trim it out of here. Make sure it's nice and secure. The next thing to do is to tie in our wing, which is just the base of a partridge or pheasant rump feather. And you can see it has a curve to it. I want this curve, when I fold it over, to lay up. So when I tie it in, I'm going to lay it down. I also want all the fibers to face backwards when I tie, when I'm finished with the fly, so I tie them in facing forwards, the opposite. That way once I do fold it over, it will lay correctly. I just tie that in right behind the bead, right on top of the hook. Then I trim out the excess portion. Once I've done that, I can lay down a bit of dubbing over those wraps right behind the bead. For this I just match it with some PMD yellow dubbing. If you're tying a blue and olive color, you'd use olive dubbing at this point. It doesn't take much, just a little bit. And I hop my thread right in front of the bead. Now for this next portion, I pull the feather straight over the top of the fly, capture the stem, trim out the stem very carefully, clean up the eye a little bit, then you can whip finish. Trim off the thread. That is your Batwing Emerger. It's made to look like wings. See the bottom? See the nice rib, the tail. You can use different color beads. I used a clear bead here. Some people like to use red beads or gunmetal beads. You can do whatever you like. That essentially is the Batwing Emerger.